Okay, students, we're going to do the interface, the course interface. So I've created 3 classes here. The first class is just starting. It's not really a class. That's the first program, which is the startup. When I've created my window, which is, I give it a title as a course selection. I've created the X coordinate and the Y coordinate of the window. Which is the length, not really X coordinate and Y coordinate, is the width and the height of the window. And then I've used the geometry attribute for the 2KI windows. The TK windows allows me to expand and shrink the window as it depends on how many widgets you've got in the different frames. So what is this one doing is basically making the width and the height, it's flexible, and it's taking it as a percentage from the width and the height of the window itself. It depends on how many widgets you've adding, because I just didn't want to set up as a fixed one and have an empty spaces or doesn't enough. Then I've created and I've started up my application using a class. I called it course interface, and I've sent my window so I can create my frame and the roots. The course interface, it only has my frames and roots in it. So that's the widgets, all the widgets in here for the course interface. So basically when you create that class, when you create an instant of the class, you are going to, these functions will be executed, and this function's just creating the frames, the welcome frame. I'm using the grid method to set up my widgets. So I'm creating 4 labels, which is the first one is, sorry, 5 labels. The first one is just welcome to the course, and then the 4 labels for the like student name, teacher name, and so on and so forth, and then the entries. So basically when you run it, I'm running, that's the course that I'm gonna run, which is the startup one. Sorry, that's my start file. So if I run that, this will give me the window. So that's my window. See, okay, so that's my window. So here is the labels, and I'm using the grid method and because I've created my entry here for the text box, all the same width. I've created them with width 15 just to be nice and tidy. And then I've created the button called begin. So when the user will enter all this information here, and then when you press the word begin, this functions will run. So I'm going to enter the users here. Now, when I press begin, so what I want to do first, I want to get all those information from the entry first, read them out from the entry, and store them into variables in here, and then destroy all those widgets. So I can have an empty frame, I can add the next widgets to it. Okay, so what is the next widgets are? Basically, you're creating here, I've destroyed all the frame, then the next widgets will be, so I'm just gonna do next first here, begin, and look at the next widget. It says Reese. This comes from here, the title, and I've used the student name variable because I already got it from the text box, and made it into title, and I've chosen the courses below, and then I want only to create check buttons for all the courses that's available for the students. Remember, we're using classes, so we need to make sure that we have data encapsulations. So anything related to the students' information should not be stored in the course interface. They should be in a class called students. So class called students here, it's a very simple class. It's only creating an instance of each student. Each student will be identifying by its name, the teacher name, the teacher code, and the year level. So those are 4 attributes or 4 parameters you need when you create the student's instance. After you create the student's instance, then you can access any functions that you've created within the class. To be able to do that, I have to import that class in the course interface. So that's the course interface here. So I've imported the class, and once I get those information, I will create an instant of that class. So when means I'm going to create a student with name Reese, Al Saleh as a teacher, AI as a teacher code, and the year level is 13. So, and then I need to give the courses that's suitable for that student. So I've used that class instant to access the course functions, the courses functions in the student class, the courses functions. I've used the class instant because when you use the class instance means that your course, the year level here will be 13 because you've entered 13. Now, one thing to remember as well, those entry text box, always the entry for those text box are a string, will return as a string. So that's why I'm comparing here using quotation mark, not, I'm treating the 11 and 12 and 13 as a string, 11, 12, 13, not as a number 11, 12, 13, because those are strings. You can convert this into integer first and then put that without the quotation mark. It's up to you. We will probably convert it to an integer and use it without the quotation mark after we've to make the error validation. Like, what about if the user insert number 14 or did not insert anything? So we will have to error validation, but we will do that later. This is just a basic to get it running. So now after that, this will return the list of courses, which is this one here, and that's how I view them. Not in here. So you can see all these list courses that shows in the 13. So this button here, that's the loop, will go through all the courses that have returned and creating the check buttons. The on and the off value of the check buttons is actually the name. So that's on value and the off value. I've done that so I can do the checking at the bottom in here. And then I've made them all deselected and I've just added them in a row. So basically now this my grid, the number of rows I've used is the same length as my courses functions plus 1, because that's an extra. Okay, so let's say the courses functions, that length was 10, so that means I have 10 rows in here, and then 1 extra because I've got this label here. This is very important to the steps that we're going to do at the bottom later. Anyway, so if any user will select any of those, will tick any of those check buttons, this function will be called. Now this function, what is it doing? It's basically, I'll explain this a bit later, but it's first is going to read which check button you've chosen, and then it will check if it's this check button, sorry, the course that you've chosen, it's not in the selection courses, then it will add it to the selection courses. If it is already on the selection courses, we'll take it away from the selection courses because me and you unticked it. Now it's also check that you're only allowed to select 5 courses. So it won't do that, add or remove, until it's less than 5. If it is more than 5, it will tell you that you've selected more than 5 courses. You must remove a course first before you select the next one. Now, how is I'm doing that? Basically, if I select this, look, automatically it will show in here the courses that you have selected for so far is Maths 3. Now I've selected another one, that's the courses, and this is the button that this is the way that I'm doing here. So every time I'm selecting, it's removing anything below this button. This is removing all the widgets or the labels below my button, because I'm only using labels in here. Below my button is removing it first, and then is replacing it with, you know, this again, rewriting it again. The label is the courses you've selected so far, and go through the selection courses and just adding them as a label. So look, if I'm doing this. Now what happens if I reselect the Maths 3 again? This one will run, because means I'm selecting the course again. That means I want to remove it, like, you know, untick it. So if I select this again, look, it's gone. Okay, now I can add another one, and another one. Now I have 5. Now what's going to happen? If I select the fifth one, the sixth one, this word code will run and says, you know, no, you've got 5 courses. You need to remove first. So if I selected this again, look, the button change. It says, no, you've selected 5. Remove one of the selected courses prior to selecting new one. So I need to remove one first. So I'll remove the DVC first. So I've removed the DVC. Now I can select another one, business 3. So now I've got business 3. And so this is just my way of checking it that I've only selected 5. Now I'm gonna press the next button. So I've got this. I want to confirm it. So this is the button that I've got here. Where is it? Here. That's the button. It says next confirm. So this will run. First thing, I want to check that actually the user selected 5, because it's not less than 5. I want the user to continue selecting. You must tell them that you use select 5. So if they select less than 5, I don't want to remove anything from this window frame. I want to stay in this frame. If they select 5 and they want to confirm, then I want to move to a different frame. So I'm just going to show you first what's going to happen if you select less than 5. So I'm just going to remove one of these. So I'm going to remove the chemistry 3. So you can see now it's 4. If I press next, look what's showing. It says you must choose 5 courses. Look, it's keeping the same window. I have not removed any wedges. I have not forgot anything. So this is a simple way to do it. And then now let's say I'm selecting the 5. So I'm going to go and choose the physics 3, PED 3. So I'm selecting it. So look, it's gone. And I'm selecting 5. Now if I do next, this will run. What is this doing? When I press next, because I've got 5 now, I'm pressing next. It should show me a frame with only the 5 courses that I've selected, but it should give me a button called edit. Because I'm doing edit means the user should be able to go back to this window in particular and deselect or select whatever they want to this window. So that's why I'm using this. I'm saying that welcome frame, the one that I've created and I've used everything, I want you to grid.remove _remove. So I want you to remove. I didn't use destroy. Destroy, you can't go back to it. But I've said remove mean I don't want to see it now. And then I've created a new frame, full frame, and I've created a frame called confirmation. I've used a grid method in that frame. Basically on that frame, I've only created a label and I've chosen the buttons in here. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna, so you can see the whole thing. I'm gonna put this code into Google Classroom so you all can see it and hopefully you can follow the instructions. Okay. So now I'm gonna press next. A new frame will show, and this frame is this one here. So I've only basically created a new frame. I'm using the grid. I've created the label. I've chosen all the list that the courses chosen. The user have chosen in the selection list, and then I've created them as a label, and I've added a button called edit course. Now if I press on that, I want to go back to the previous frame because the user wants to edit the previous frame. So this edit course will call this functions here. This functions here, all it's do, it will remove this confirmation course, it will remove it, and it will show the welcome frame because I've stored that previous one, the welcome frame. So you can see if I do edit course now, it just shows that, don't worry, it will go back. That glitch, it's nothing to do with me, it's the computer. Now you can see this is the previous course. I can do exactly the same. So I can do remove, just returning to that previous frame. So I can remove this, I can add another one, just do the same thing and go again. It shows the new courses again, go back, and so on and so forth. Right, that's so far what I got. I'm going to complete the rest of the program soon. So the next step after this, it's basically going, adding another button says confirm instead of edit. So when you go next, another button should show confirm. When you press confirm, you must write all this information into a file. And then asking the user if they would like to start again. If they start again, that's mean you create another application again, and that's it. And then we will work on the error validation. So far, all we did, the error validation, is that you must choose 5 courses. Thank you.